Cebu, the best island in the Pacific. Cebu Island proves to be a place that stayed in the hearts and minds of travelers from all over the world. International travel magazine Condé Nast has declared Cebu and the Visayas Island as the best islands in Asia, beating the likes of Sri Lanka or Koh Phangan in Thailand, even Palawan, Siargao, and Boracay in the Philippines. Cebu is one of the most visited places in the country. In 2019, the Philippine Tourism and Statistics showed that Cebu accounts to more than 20% in both domestic and international tourist arrivals in the country. This is even higher in the previous years. Cebu contributes to more than 50% of the 50 billion tourism industry in the region. Mactan Cebu International Airport, which is the second busiest airport in the country, caters to almost 600 international flights and 1,500 domestic flights every week. But in the year 2020, travels began to be out of reach in the face of a pandemic. Cebu Island enjoys the prestige of being a top tourist hub in the country. Its 44 towns and 6 cities have so much to offer. Moalboal Town, for example, is a diving haven for the past 40 years. There's also the whale shark watching and paragliding in Uslob, canyoneering adventure in Alegria, scenic forests in Mantalungon, and the gushing walls of waterfalls in Kawasan in Badian and Mantayupan in Barili. Up north, San Remigio has established itself to be a perfect beach getaway with its long stretch of shoreline. Further north is Bantayan Island, an oasis for beach bops. Malapascua Island, which is famous for its thresher sharks and abundant marine life, is also a fantastic dive destination, as well as Nalusuan off the southern coast in Mactan Island. But it was during the Suroy-Suroy Sugbo tours around the province that countryside tourism spurred and gave birth to more investment opportunities. The last Suroy-Suroy Sugbo held in January 2020 was the Northern Escapade. It was the biggest Suroy-Suroy group yet, with 600 participants in 6 bus loads. Shortly after, the horrible news of a novel coronavirus wreaking havoc across the world began. As government's response to the pandemic, lockdowns were implemented, travels were banned, businesses closed, farmers had no one to deliver their fresh produce, fishermen hung their nets and paddles, resorts could no longer pay their employees. Months went by, everyone suffered, but the officials of the Cebu Provincial Government, whose foresight is more encompassing than their fear of the pandemic, refused to be defeated. Last August, when restrictions were eased, Governor Gwendolyn Garcia was the first in the country to decide to slowly open up tourism and encouraged local travels. Cebuanos got to know their own island again and experience the bliss and adventure Cebu offers. Governor Garcia signed executive orders that reopened the popular tourism activities. The EO also put in place the safety protocols and guidelines to be followed by every establishment who will be catering to people, anchoring on science and technology, alongside traditional methods and health regimen to boost the immune system. Cebu re-emerged as the new health and wellness destination. All guests are to be offered healthy welcome drinks such as calamansi juice and ginger turmeric tea.
All establishments must sterilize their facilities. Safety gears and equipment using ultraviolet germicidal light, which is scientifically recognized to neutralize viruses and bacteria. Frontline staff like receptionists, waiters, busboys, briefers and servers are required not just to wear face masks and face shields, but preferably air purifiers as well. The Cebu Provincial Government created a provincial tourism task force to monitor compliance of the agreed protocols, standards and guidelines. To control the movement of tourists, booking of tour activities is done through the Cebu Province's portal. Discover cebu.gov.ph to regulate the numbers allowed for each activity. Since the relaunch of tourism activities in Oslob last July 31, more and more tourists are starting to head off to the countryside. Livelihoods are back! But this is not enough. In a bold and brave move, Governor Garcia was the first local chief executive in the country to junk the RT-PCR test and travel authority requirements for travelers coming to Cebu, and give way to a less hassle travel as she decided to open up Cebu to the rest of the country. A confirmation ruling from the national government through the IATF and the Department of Interior and Local Government parried all criticisms and attempts to prevent this from happening. Now, Cebu is ready to welcome its guests from other provinces and cities. For starters, capital with the help of the private sector, the airlines, tour operators and accommodation establishments created tour packages that will entice tourists to stay for 4 days and 3 nights at affordable rates. Locals and guests from across the country can now take a break and de-stress from the horrors of the past year and soak in the beauty and serenity of the island. With this collaboration between the government and the private sector, this premier province in the country and the best island in the Pacific will show to the rest of the country and the world that Cebu and the Cebuanos are now moving on and moving forward.